Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Guys on Gaffr. My name is Joel, and no David today. He is working, but Abhishek is here. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing fine. I got to watch some international football, which was nice. But at the end, the reason why watching this international football is because our players doesn't get injured. So far, it's a clean bill of health. Hopefully, it continues, and we can't wait to start the fantasy back again. It was a nice break. In the end, watch some cricket and some other things as well. So it was nice. How are you doing?
Yeah, all right, thank you. There's been some good bits of other live sport that have kind of kept me interested recently. So, see, there's been the US Open tennis, so I was able to watch both finals at the weekend. A bit of NFL, which I got into last year. So, yeah, the first time I got into it kind of last year, and then this year I'm trying to kind of keep it going. So, yeah, lots of stuff going on. I've not thought about Gaffr for what feels like well over a week now, so yeah, we'll see how this goes, but yeah, it's going to be good to get into it again at the weekend, but it's always nice to have these I don't know, I always hate international breaks from a football fan point of view, but actually from a fantasy football point of view, it's just a week off making decisions and, you know, being annoyed when you lose 10 points off of a 50-50 decision. So
I think it was a welcome break because after seeing Son and Ferguson's hat trick and not getting any return from my midfield players, so it was a welcome break for me to ready rejuvenate my mind, my thought process, what I'm going to do in the next 4 to 5 weeks before the next international break hits. So it was a welcome break. Get to watch other games as well. So it was fun to watch various different managers are going to manage the international team. So it was great fun watching them as well because we get to see them in club football.
yeah.
But now they're managing international football. So yeah, it was okay. Break. It was a good break. Nice. It was needed. To be honest, it was needed. So yeah.
Okay, so let's get into our teams and how we did in Game Week 5, which feels an awful long time ago at this point. Abhishek, you're at first.
Yeah. So Game Week 5 was triple week for me, a boost week finally. And I think with after the transfer window ended, with Gunnoto staying, Piro staying, Piro having gone to Leeds, I think it was a really good time to play the triple boost with so many options. So play the triple boost. My three captains were Piro, Gunnoto, and Sara, which fetched me 40 points extra, so which was nice because in a low scoring week it was really nice to get those returns from him, albeit bonus points, but at least you had a kind of success, you may say, an okay success, you may say, not in terms of goals but in terms of points, you can say. So out of that 89 points, I think out of that 89 points, 85 points. I took a -8, so it will come down to 70 something points. Gnotto, Pero, and Sara were the main contributors. Ro again assisted one goal, so he was back in the points as well. Finally got Ro in because I cannot go forward without Rower. It seems because in 5 matches he has returned. So it so yeah, Broadhead. Another one that scored for me was Broadhead. He got a goal, so 6 points.
Yeah,
And
late
Frisbee
yellow
Hall,
card dropped him down from 10 as well.
yeah, that's disappointing. But I think I would have run away with it because it was a crazy game.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was over, but then I think Hook crawled back in. I think Switch came back in. So it was a nice, good point. I think 6 points is decent for when they were playing a tough opponent. Mumba and Hazard, my two Plymouth boys it was contributing again. It was a home game as well, so it was nice to see.
Mm.
Now the most infuriating player in my squad, Ryan Manning. I don't know what to talk about him anymore because I don't want to own now. Possibly I'm going to sell him, if not next week, after next week. I can't own him anymore. It's ridiculous. He doesn't. I mean, for a price of 7 million, he needs to perform way better than he is now performing. He has already performed two zeros in 5 games,
Yeah.
just won 10 plus points, and other defenders who are far more cheaper than him are performing better. Plus, I think Spence will start for Leeds now, so he's a decent option, and I get to save 0.5 million as well on him. So that will be my transfer. That I'm looking to do that, but more on that later. So yeah, to sum up, 85 minus 8, an okay triple triple, which I'm happy about because it was a low scoring week. So yeah, that's me.
Cool. What I will say is, in terms of Manning, you are probably the one who has the correct estimation of him as an asset compared to a load of us. You tried to bench him against someone recently, and he came off your bench for 0 points, but you actually had the right idea to bench, and everyone else was like, "What are you playing at?" Might have been the Norwich game or something, the hard game. So I
Yeah.
think you've been right about Manning. He's very much underperforming. Right, my team then also played triple triple, but a much worse score of 69 minus 4. It's a bit of an ordeal for how this all went because I started off just doing, what did I do? Thingy Teller to Nonto.
Mm.
And then I realised, I regretted it instantly. I was like, Somerville, his stats at the start of the season when he was playing, I think it was only 1 or 2 games. One game, I think it was. But he was insane for bonus, key passes, dribbles, a lot. And then he did play the full 90 midweek in the cup, and I was like, he's going to start, and he could be the best asset, and I've got Nonto instead. So I took the controversial decision that I actually don't regret, despite the fact that I've lost 7 points off of this decision, to take a -4 to do James to Somerville. And I actually thought I had the emergency captain on Somerville, but I must have not clicked save because it was on Nonto when I checked later. Only 1 point difference, so it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, so because of that, I benched Rowe, which meant I lost 7 points on the move, which sounds bad, but I think Somerville could become near essential soon. I think he could go big. He is a key pass monster. He's in a Leeds team that I expect to pick up, so I'm glad that I have him, and Nonto as well. So yeah, in terms of who I tripled then, Pirro captain, Dewsbury Hall emergency, vice Nonto emergency. So I think I calculated a 23-point gain if I remember correctly. I did calculate it like a week ago. Just not nothing. I wanted much more from that Leeds Sheffield Wednesday game. So I'm kind of in two minds there. Like, it could have been brilliant, but also it's not a complete failure with the 7-pointer from Nonto in the end and 5 from Dewsbury Hall, just kind of carrying things a bit. Sarah also got 6 in my team, Somerville 6, Broadhead 6, and then the defence was naff, really. Key 3, Manning 0, Davis 3, Dieng 1, benched Kakai for 6. So yeah, a green arrow up to 413th from 708th, so it's progress, and I like my team. Just need to make some inroads in the coming weeks, I think, in towards that kind of top 200, top 100. But I do like where I'm sitting right now. David's team was 57, no boost, which is decent actually, really, really nice, considering he played no boost. It was a pretty low scoring week overall. There were lots of people in the 30s and 40s. So Mumba with 8 was one of the highlights for him. He had the double Ipswich defence of Hideki and Davis. Ashby with 3 as well. But yeah, the midfield was kind of bonus point central really, with Somerville vice captain, Rowe, Sarah, Dewsbury Hall, Pirro captain as well, Armstrong and Whitaker with the 6-pointer. So yeah, the double Plymouth coming quite well for him there. And he's got a green arrow up to 37th from I'm not sure where, but I think that's quite a good game week for him, and I imagine he's quite pleased with it. So yeah, that's where David's at, and yeah, that's our game week 5 recap. And so let's move on. So Abhishek has popped the fixture ticker onto the screen, and what we basically want to talk about today is in the next 6 game weeks up to the next international break, we're going to kind of make a few predictions in terms of which teams are going to improve on their start, which teams are going to maybe drop off and regress a bit, and just kind of discuss this next block up to kind of game week 11, and what we think is going to happen. So I guess, Abhishek, I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you which team is going to secure the most points in the next 6 game weeks, in your opinion?
Which teams? I think Leicester should, but both the next 2 games are both away, and they haven't been able to quite gel as a team. So even though I think Leicester would be the favorite to get 18 points out of the possible 18 from the next 6, but that's Southampton and Norwich away, both of them away. That will be maybe you can say a season defining at the start of the so early of the season, because if Leicester can win those 2 matches, then straight away they can show that they are the championship winning team credential, because Norwich are flying, Southampton are not far behind, and Leicester, if Leicester can beat both of them, then that's going to dealt massive blow to Southampton and Norwich chances as well, because Leicester is their direct rival for the championship title as well. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, both these two in game week 6 and 7. So if Leicester can navigate at least 4 points from those 2 games, if they get 6, then that's nothing like it. But if they get at least 4 points, then I think it will be a decent haul from both those 2 matches. And then they face Bristol, Blackburn, Preston, and Stoke. So from game week 8 to game week 11, 3 home games and 1 away. So I'm expecting Leicester to get 4 wins out of 4. So Leicester is one of my team that I think will get the maximum, if not 18 points, but possibly 15 to 16 points. The second team I have for me is it's going to sound strange, but Preston, because they have
You say that,
what,
it's going to
5.
sound strange, but you've just said the top of the table, the team that's top of the table right now. So, maybe it's not
Yeah.
strange.
Yep. And the reason why I say the strange, because I think there are a few key players that have come injured from international. I haven't looked at those players thoroughly. I was just rolling towards in some of the group chats, and many of them are saying that Will Gregg has picked up an injury while playing for Ireland. I don't know
Will
the
Keane,
confirmation
Will
of that.
Keane, right?
Oh, Will Kane, yeah, Will Kane. So he he is, I think, Preston's top scorer as of now. So it will be, if he's out, it will be a massive miss for them, because although they have decent strikers, but all of those strikers are fit. I don't know yet, because I think Reece Jacobson is also out for injury. I don't know his status. Have to wait for Angus's, but I think they have the second best fixture ticker in after Leicester City. I think because they play Plymouth, Birmingham, Rotherham, West Brom, Leicester, Ipswich. I mean, if they play to their potential, then I think they can have what, 15 to 14 to 15 points from that. I think, yeah, West Brom, Birmingham, and West Brom, one can argue, but both of them are at home. So Preston at home should be favorites. Leicester away is going, and Ipswich away in game week 10 and 11 will be a crucial will be tough games, because both of them are away. But if Preston has all its attackers firing, then why not? I can bet against Preston. I can bet for Preston against Leicester to get a result, because Leicester aren't yet gelled yet as a team, and they're conceding chances. So it's going to be an interesting situation come game week 10 and 11 where these two teams stand. So as of now, my top two are Leicester and Preston in terms of fixture taker. And the team, I think, in my opinion, to look forward is, I think, Coventry, because they have from 6 to 11, apart from Norwich, they play really decent teams. Hull away, Cardiff away, Huddersfield at home, QPR away, Blackburn at home, and Norwich at home. So three home games and three away games, and the away games are not that much tough because it's against Hull, Cardiff, and QPR. So if Coventry can, if Coventry can play what from the by the signings that they have got, if they can play to their potential, if those teams, if the team starts clicking like they clicked last week, before the international break, then I think it will be a decent haul for Coventry as well. I mean, these three teams are my top three in terms of fixture taker and who is gonna get maximum points or can get maximum points. 14 to 15 points is out of possible 18 is a decent haul in the next six games. And one dark horse I'm going to recommend, it's purely because of the fixture ticker, and that's Rotherham, because they're facing Huddersfield away, Millwall away, Preston at home, Cardiff away, Bristol at home, Southampton away. Although I think four of them are away and two at home, but they can be a dark horse team, because who would have expected them to get a point, to get full 3 points against Norwich? I think against Norwich, yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's not a matter of jokes. Even though that was at home, one can argue that they were playing at home, but on their day, given they can beat anyone, and I think they had the talent there. Uh, Certainly to get a result out of the big boys. And we know championship. Nothing is, nothing can be said that yeah, it's a banker point. It's a 3 point banker. You can't say anything about it because every team can beat every team on a given day. So yeah, my dark horse will be Rotherham, just because purely because of the fixture ticker, because they face quite decent teams and they are indeed quite a decent one. So yeah, one
Yeah.
can. Those are my four teams so far. I'm not talking about any more because uh, one, you need to talk about someone. You are itching about it, and second of all, I can't see anyone having a easier run than those four as of now. So on you go.
Yeah, I'll start with saying I agree with you on Coventry. I think Coventry have a good looking fixture run here. Um, yeah, Hull, Cardiff, Huddersfield, QPR, Blackburn, Norwich, not bad at all. And the signs that they are starting to gel and attack, even without Victor. Matty Godden's playing an important part for them. Haji Wright seems to be in favour over Ellis Sims at the moment. And Casey Palmer's doing a pretty good job in the 10 without, obviously, Gus Hamer in the team anymore. And they're just such a well-run club. I guess the only concern with Coventry is if they do get key injuries, the depth maybe isn't there in the squad. But for now, I think looking at that fixture, and they could be up there, like you say. Leicester, I'm going to disagree with you on though. As you mentioned, they haven't really gelled a lot yet, and I think a result like the Hull one was probably coming. Obviously, their first drop points at the weekend, losing 1-0. But all of their 4 wins in the first 4 games of the season were by a single goal and not entirely convincing. And so, considering they've got to go to play Southampton away and Norwich away, I think there's an okay chance that they don't win either of those games. Actually, I don't think I think it could be close, but obviously they've had quite a kind start. Leicester, they've had a good run of fixtures to start the season, and they've got 4 wins and a loss out of it. 12 points is great. They're third in the table, but you could definitely argue that they were a bit fortunate on a couple of a couple of occasions so far. So yeah, I will say that they probably won't do quite as well. Who else though? I think Bristol City are an interesting one. They've got a couple of tough games in there. They've got to go to the King Power. They've got to go to Ellen Road, amongst other fixtures. 3 at home to West Brom, Plymouth, and Stoke, and then away at Rotherham. But the important thing to note with Bristol City is they've kind of vastly underperformed their XG so far. So 5 goals, but an XG of 8.4, which is third in the league. So a higher expected goals figure than the likes of Southampton, Blackburn, Cardiff, Sunderland, Coventry, a higher Leeds, higher expected goals figure than all of these, and Leicester as well. I guess it's just a case of can their attackers take the chances, which has obviously been the problem so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they could do all right in terms of how they've just underperformed slightly so far, particularly outside of those 2 tough away games. In those other 4 games, they could pick up quite a lot of points. There's another team I was going to call out. I think Sunderland have got an okay run. QPR away, Blackburn away, Cardiff at home, Sheffield Wednesday away, Watford at home, Middlesbrough at home. Obviously, they've put 5 past Southampton, which is a big surprise to me. I think they still have issues in that they didn't really sign a good striker, and obviously Ross Stewart has gone. So I think that's potentially going to be a bit tricky for them. But I look at a kind run there, and maybe they could do quite well. Who else? I do think Leicester will do well as well. Obviously, they lost to Rotherham in what's quite a surprise result, but I think the volume of goals that they can score as a team is something that means I'm kind of not too concerned about them. I guess you could make the argument that with Sargent out, they're going to be a lot less effective, and maybe goals will be a bit harder to come by. But personally, I think they've got enough firepower in their attack, and the fixtures are good enough. So Stoke at home, Leicester at home, Plymouth away, Birmingham at home, Swansea away, Coventry away. And then Leeds, I think, is the last one I'm going to mention. I just think they've had a lot of uncertainty. They've been very unsettled as a team so far, with a whole lot of noise about who are the ins and outs, who's staying, who's going, and now I think they've got a real chance to get a settled team together, with a lot of firepower with their front 4, and even though their fixtures are so, I mean, Millwall away is tough-ish, Hull away, Watford at home, Southampton away, but then they've got QPR at home, Bristol City at home. I think Leeds might well get a good run together as well. So those would be my picks. What if we reverse it? Who would you say is going to have a bad six game weeks?
Look, from the offset, I mean, if we are ranking tougher fixtures, Southampton doesn't have an easier run, especially the next 4. They face Leicester at home, Ipswich at home, Middlesbrough away. We don't know what Middlesbrough will come out and what Carrick has done in this transfer international break, because I don't think, apart from Hackney or someone else, majority of the players were at their club, so they get a full 2 weeks preparation to get a gel together, new players coming in. So Middlesbrough can be a different team altogether after the international break. So Middlesbrough away will be a tough game for Southampton. Then Leeds at home, Stoke City away. That's a tough 5. That's a tough 5 for me. And even though I know Southampton will score goals, but they haven't replaced any of the superstars that they have let go. So plus I don't I have to see how they gel together, because every week Adam Armstrong has to either play alone or with somebody else or with someone else who is going out. And he was playing with Tella, then now Tella is gone, so he have to uh, manufacture another partnership with someone else. Glad Southampton has hold on to Che Adams. So possibly if Russell Martin starts with them 2 up top, then I think Southampton will be fine. But it's the defense that I am a bit worried, because they're conceding goals, and they're not keeping they're just keeping half clean sheets.
They're not
And
even doing that a lot of the time, are they? Conceding in both
yeah,
halves a lot. If
yeah, and I'm leaving the fantasy out of it. Even though if you're a Southampton fan, not always your striker is going to score 4+ goals every week, 3+ goals every week. There's going to be a time where you have to eke out 1-0 wins, and certainly they are not doing that. So until and unless they stabilize the defense, a lot of defenders have gone out. So what is their stable defense? I really don't know as of now. So it's going to be I'm going to be watchful about those defense. Hence the disappointment with Manning, because I know Manning will start, but he is not creating enough for me to justify his price tag or justify to select him in my Gaffr team. So Southampton, I can say, is the toughest one out of all the 24 teams, I believe. Next one, it's a so-so because in two teams, 50-50, because they have three easier runs, three tough games. One is uh, uh, where was it? Where was it? Oh, one is I think Hull City. Although they have a tough run because although they play Coventry City at home, Leeds United at home, Stoke City away, Plymouth at home, Ipswich away, but those are tough fixtures because Coventry has also strengthened like Hull. Leeds have also strengthened, especially at the back end of the window. So it's plus. I do really want to know how the fitness of Tufan is, because I think he had a minor issue. I mean, I think watched Angus's injury report last before the international break. He had a knock. I don't know how it is, and he is so crucial for them. Uh, Delap finding back of the net two times out of the five games is a decent start, but he needs to do much more. So Hull City is, and the second one is, I think, Ipswich. Uh,
Interesting.
they have just the two home game. They have the next four. They just have one home game, although they play Sheffield Wednesday away. We get to see is a different Sheffield Wednesday in game week 5. After 2 weeks, most of the players were at their club. So what Wednesday will come out, it's a different. It's a wait and watch, but it's a tough game for Ipswich in that sense. Then they face Southampton, Blackburn at home, Huddersfield away. Blackburn has signed decent players, especially at the deadline day. They have signed a couple of strikers as well who are decent enough to score the goals. Not Brereton esque, but certainly they can do a job. So it will be interesting to see. So I think according to then they face Huddersfield away in 9, Hull City at home, Preston at home. So these Ipswich and I think Hull City have, I think they are joint second in terms of tougher fixtures, but taking that away from both those players, the team, both those players from those teams, because on a given day they can really do a job against tougher sides like Coventry, like Leeds. So it will be a tough battle, and it will be a fun battle for us as neutrals to watch, because uh, if there is a goals goal fest in both those games, we own players from those teams, so it will be a happy we will be a happy bunch after all. So those three teams, according to me, feel like have the tougher run in the next six.
Yeah, yeah. I will again start with something that I agree with you on, which is Southampton. Yeah, if there's ever a time to sell Manning, it's now. Looking at those fixtures, and I think quite a few people will be choosing to do that this week. I won't add anything more though, because you basically covered it off. I'm going to add a couple of teams that weren't mentioned as well. I think the couple from a statistical point of view, and then another one as well. So I think I'm gonna have three more teams. So West Brom first up. Now obviously they are only 11th, but something to note is that they have scored 10 goals this season from an XG of 4.6. So they're actually joint third for goals scored so far, but they are 20th for XG. That suggests that I guess they're going to regress unless their players can continue scoring from low XG chances and scoring worldies and such. But so I think, and their defensive numbers aren't great. The other thing about West Brom is they've got four away games in the next 6, and last season their away form was really awful. They were all right at home, but away from home they were really poor. So they've got Bristol City away, Watford away, Millwall at home, Preston away, Sheffield Wednesday at home, Birmingham away. And I look at that run of fixtures, and I think the Wednesday at home fixture is a good one, but the others, I wouldn't say they're clear favourites for any of the other fixtures, particularly with the 3 of those 4 being away. So 3 of those 5 being away. So 4 of those 5 being away. Get my facts right. Yeah, so I think West Brom are potentially going to struggle in the next few, based off of their performances so far. Another one that I was going to mention on the flip side of that, from an expected goals against point of view, was, who was it? It was Plymouth, I think it was. Yeah, they are, in a sense, fortunate not to have conceded more goals. They have conceded 5, but an expected goals against of 9.2, which is one of the biggest differences in the division, if not the biggest difference. And their fixtures, I think that the trend we're going to see is Plymouth are going to be quite good at home this season, but away from home maybe struggle a little bit more. They've got 3 home games, 3 away games, but their home games are against Norwich, Millwall and Swansea. They might do all right against Swansea, but Norwich and Millwall I can foresee being quite tough for them. And then their away games are Preston, Bristol City and Hull, which are they're not awful, but I think they might regress a little bit. Not to the point that we should be concerned about them from a relegation point of view. It's looking like they've got enough about them at the moment, particularly from an attacking standpoint, but I think they may struggle a little bit in the coming weeks. And the other team I wanted to mention was Blackburn. Now, they've won 2 of their first 5 games. The first one was against a West Brom side on the first game of the season, where West Brom really shot themselves in the foot with a ridiculously high line. The other game they've won was against Watford, and in that game Watford absolutely bossed it, and it was just complete smash and grab at Vicarage Road. So those are the 2 wins they've had, and in between that they've drawn with Rotherham, even though Rotherham were down to 10 men, and in fact Rotherham were 2-0 up in that game, and probably would have won it if they'd had 11 men on the pitch for the rest of the game. They've lost to Plymouth 3-0 in the most recent game, and also lost 2-1 to Hull at home. So some quite poor results in there. And I look at the games they've got coming up, and I'm not feeling confident. I think the Middlesbrough game could be an opportunity against the Middlesbrough side that's not really clicked yet, but I think improvement is generally expected from Middlesbrough in the next few games. Sunderland at home, not easy at all. Ipswich away, Leicester at home, Coventry away, QPR away. So some real tough fixtures in there, and some really, I guess, ominous signs from how they perform so far. So I think they will struggle over the coming game weeks. So those are the ones that I would say. Any further comments?
No, I think you nailed it here there with all the thing. I probably missed Blackburn as well, because all the new players that they have signed, they're relatively new to the championship. So how they're gonna gel as a team remains to be seen. So if I can add, I think the only thing I can add is that apart from Southampton, the only Blackburn is also adds to the difficulty rating of the toughest match. I think Southampton edges them ever so slightly because of the fixtures, because of the teams they're going to face in the next 5, as compared to Blackburn. But both of these 2 sides have a really tough job in the next 5 weeks, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting period coming up now, over the next few games, because it's the first kind of full batch of game weeks since the transfer window shut. Obviously, it did shut just before the game week 5 deadline, but it was literally a day. So now, players have had a full 2 weeks to train with their new teams, unless they're on international duty, of course, which many will have been. And teams will be fully settled, and it'll be really interesting to see how that impacts certain teams, like Leeds, for example. And yeah, there's a lot of questions to be answered. Things like I'd be interested to see which new signings kind of do well. So like Leicester strikers, for example, Iheanacho Vardy or Tom Cannon, who they signed. Who's going to be getting the starting nod up there? Will they play two up top? Maybe they could move to two up top, arguably. Are there any new signings from kind of quite late on in the transfer window and in those last few days that you're kind of interested in watching closely at this point?
Tuanzebe has signed for Ipswich, so another defender added to them to the Ipswich ranks. So if Tuanzebe nails a starting spot, then he can be another option. I think. Apart from that, in terms of who we can say that can have a decent one, let me have a look.
It feels like a while. I think we need our brains refreshing on who's gone. Because I'm like, it's like Tom Cannon. Who else? I swear there's some more interesting ones. Cody Drammer at Birmingham's an interesting one. I mean, he's competing with Laird for that right wing back spot, and I'm not sure who would start there. Would one of them move over to the left? I mean, that's certainly an interesting one, but it's they're now stacked in that position. Maybe one of them will play right wing, and they'll be an out of position player. Anyone else that's interesting to you? I mean, Ross Stewart.
Yeah, I think
Go on.
Hull has signed Philogen. I mean, the Cardiff player who was scoring goals for fun last season for Cardiff. They have signed Philogen from Aston Villa. So that's an interesting signing. That's a decent signing, I would say. Apart from that, I think Sunderland has signed another French kid, Timothy Pembele, who is a decent signing as well. I think Adil Auchiche, another French kid, who is an interesting signing as well. I hope. I think for Sunderland, I think the roster Ross Stewart leaving is a really difficult one for them, but hopefully these French kids who are decent enough. I mean, they're playing for PSG, so they should have some talent. But it remains to be seen. Hope it doesn't become a Hamir sort of situation there. Hopefully they had a good, decent outing. And I think I think time on moving to Swansea really opens up a spot to own a Swansea defender.
Is
remains
key
to be
now a
seen.
rotation risk?
Yep. It remains to be seen what happens to Key and Ashby, because Ashby can play at left back and right back, the dual players. So whether these three players rotate with each other, it remains to be seen. But generally, Michael Duff is a defense first guy, so it will be interesting to see. Another one, I think Swansea, Bashir Humphreys, that's another defender. Jamal Lowe has also gone back to Swansea. There's a couple of interesting signings that have happened on deadline day, which are really interesting to see how they planned out. I think I think Gooch has gone to Stoke City as well. Aksabonic from Celtic, Stoke City has signed. So these two players are also really interesting to see how they will do for Stoke as well, on especially in 3-5-2 formation. The Haksanovic was playing that sort of formation under Ange in last season previously. So he's a decent option as well. So it will be interesting to see a lot of names that have been playing in other leagues, whether it's UEFA Champions League or in some other places, have come to the championship. So it will be interesting to see. We have to keep an eye on it, on those players as well.
Yeah.
They will become options.
Yeah, a few interesting ones to add as well. So, like for Southampton, they used the last few days of the transfer window to focus on getting some loans in for a bit of, I guess, squad depth, I would say. So Ryan Fraser's an interesting one. I don't know how much game time he's going to get. If fit, then maybe he could be very good indeed. But then also some defensive reinforcements in Holgate, and particularly Harwood Bellis, who did very, very well for Burnley last year. Holgate's had a bit of a wretched time at Everton, to be honest. I'm not really convinced by him, but he's, I guess, versatile. He can play right back if needed. And then like Flynn Downs is another kind of young signing from West Ham. So they've added a bit of depth there, and I think Harwood Bellis is a really good defensive reinforcement that may well help them keep some more clean sheets. Maybe not in this fixture run, but maybe he will actually help Ryan Manning as an option, Harwood Bellis, at some point. There are a few more interesting ones. Who were they? Just trying to remind myself. Oh yeah, Jonathan Panzer going to Cardiff. Could be from Forest. He could really help them out defensively. He was very, very good for Coventry last season. Obviously, I probably wouldn't say he's a Gaffr option or anything, but I think he could help them a lot defensively. There's a good couple more. Who were there? 1 second. Let me scroll back through to see which ones there's. Go on.
Yeah, Preston has signed 2 attackers. I don't know nothing about them. I think Liam Miller and Milutin Smajic. Smajic, yeah. So these 2 can be interesting options if Wilkin is out for, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know much about it, but those 2 can be decent options. And Jaden Anthony has gone back to Leeds United, so that's another interesting signing alongside Sinister has got to go alongside Noto and Somerville and Ruther. So they have a lot of attacking options behind Pirlo. So it will be interesting to see. And also they have Dan James as well. But this makes me worried about Dan James' minutes because if the likes of Anthony, Somerville and Noto are there, then Dan James is not going to start ahead of them.
That would certainly be my first choice front, kind of midfield 3, attacking 3. I know James in the last game he played was very impressive, so you could make an argument for it. It's just whether you'd go in it on the left maybe instead of Anthony. But I mean, yeah, I would prefer to start the other 3 like you. The other one is Spence. That was the other one I was going to mention for Leeds, actually. I don't know if he's nailed straight away. I think he will become nailed, but I don't know whether he will start straight away. I know people are thinking about buying him, and obviously he's a fantastic attacking fullback, but I do wonder if Ayling's got the spot for now, because Spence hasn't played a lot of minutes really in the last year, so we'll see. I think those are the only ones for me. I was going to mention Anthony as well, but you picked me to the post on that one.
Yeah, and I think the name that I'm going to mention now, not much love will be among the Gaffr community, but Oliver Burke has returned as well to, I think, Birmingham City. So that's basically it. What happened in deadline day so far. Jeff Hendrick has gone to Sheffield Wednesday.
Oh, exciting stuff! Oh, it's brilliant. Sheffield Wednesday not had a good window. Yeah. All right. I think it's time to move on to questions. So, in the absence of David, I think you have the honour of reading out the questions this week.
Oh, what an honour! Real honour. So, should we start?
Yeah.
Okay. First question is from Joe Koga 1 @FPL Maestro 1. He says, sell Mavididi, if so, to who?
Okay. Yes, sell Mavididi. Definitely. His stats are very poor. Underlying stats are very, very poor. For his price in particular. To who? So, I mean, a Leeds mid would make sense to me. It's just whether you want to go to them ahead of 2 away games against Millwall and Hull. But I love Somerville, to be honest, and I'd probably go there. If you want a more fixture-related, I guess, player, a player who's got a bit more of a promising run, I'm trying to think who you could look at really that's appealing. I mean, Cardiff have got an okay run. It's okay. Coventry do, but I don't think they've got any options that stand out in the midfields. If you don't have Rowe, get Rowe. If you don't have Sarah, get Sarah. Patino, I like for Swansea. He's looking like a key pass monster and should also get lots of assists, and their run isn't half bad. Cardiff away, QPR away, Sheffield Wednesday at home. Clark, there's lots of options. I think if I was to pick one, I would go Somerville. Yeah, I'd go Somerville. Second place,
I think
Patino maybe.
yeah, yeah. In terms of whatever Joe mentioned, I think Maestro. Those are the options that you need to replace now for Mavididi. And one thing is for certain that you have to sell Mavididi now because he ain't helping you, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a waste of a spot fund for that in your side. So just try to sell them quickly as fast as possible. And the options that Joe mentioned are the options to replace him with. So moving on to the next question. It's from Gaffr Kyle. He says, Mumba, Potts, or Key? If you had to pick one for the next 4 game weeks.
Well, this provoked a little bit of
Okay.
debate, didn't it, in the comments? With I guess the one that stands out is Potts, as with 3 home games in 4, and the others have
Yeah.
3 away games in 4, I believe. So from that point of view, Potts seems to be the one. I mean, I wouldn't say Key, just because of the threat of Timon. I mean, it's possible that he's okay and he's not going to be a problem. Um, so yeah, I think I'll say Potts, but I don't mind Mumba at all. Just the
The two
XGA is
options.
sorry. To just want to add the other thing. The XGA obviously doesn't favour Mumba at all. So on that basis, actually,
Yeah.
yeah, Potts.
Yeah, I think Potts clearly wins the vote for me as well, especially because of all those statistics and the fixtures. But I don't mind betting on Mumbai as well. One guy I'm not betting on at all from that three is Key, because I don't know what sort of shape Michael Duff will bring out after those defensive signings. Who is nailed, who is not nailed, I don't know, really know. So until and unless I have a clear watch about what Swansea's backline looks like, until and unless I'm not trusting any Swansea backline players, so, yeah, Key is not for me at all. Out of Mumbai and Potts clearly wins the battle, but I don't mind getting Mumbai as well, just because he for the oop position he plays, and one thing is for certain is that he will come off after 75 minutes. So if Plymouth is getting a nil-nil after 75 minutes and Mumbai comes off, then you're gonna get 2 half clean sheets. That's for certain. that's one of, that's another reason why I'm suggesting Mumbai, because he's not preferred as a statistical in from the statistical point of view, but if you look at it, then he comes off after 75 minutes every time. So you're gonna get 2 half clean sheets even though Plymouth loses after 75 minutes. So
You could conversely argue that if he's coming off after 75 minutes, there's a risk he comes off earlier. I don't know. Maybe that's not a valid argument, and you miss out on half.
yeah, I
I
mean,
don't. You can
no,
see it either
it's
way.
a point because yeah, it's a point because if that happens too much, then and if then that attacking potential that we had,
Mm,
that minimizes quite a bit, because after all, if he is only providing 6 points, that doesn't help as a wing back, is it, for us,
yeah, that's
even though
true.
he plays in the midfield position. So I think you have to see both the sides of it.
Mm.
So yours is a valid argument as well.
Yeah, you could argue it
So I
both
think
ways, can't you?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, Kyle. So hopefully that answers your question. Now moving on to the next question. FPL Trini Nick, he asks best Preston and Cardiff assets. That's a tough one.
Hmm. This is a tricky one. I mean, we'll deal with one by one. I guess Preston. Yeah, we've just talked about Potts. He's certainly a good option if you need a cheaper defender. Obviously Potts is 5.6. You could look at Hughes or Lindsay at 5.1. Just if you need to make the saving. I'm not convinced anyone else is a good option. I don't think Frankia Jensen is a great option. I think he's had 2 really good games for bonus, but at other times he's been really quite anonymous, and he needs kind of the returns. In the last game, he got hooked at half time on a yellow card. He's okay and he can do well for bonus, but I think his bonus potential has been overstated by some people in the community. I think some people are overestimating it slightly, and he's not as brilliant as some think he is. He's okay, but he's not. I think he's slightly overrated as an asset. Will Keane is going to tick along at 6.1, but I just prefer Broadhead personally. So just from the amount of goals I expect Ipswich to score versus the amount of goals I expect Preston to score. So I personally don't think, even though they're top of the table, I don't think anyone should be rushing to buy Preston assets. But certainly a defensive option is absolutely fine. What are your opinions on Preston?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail with the defensive options, because I don't think apart from those two, any other sticks out unless Brady comes back. I think he comes back in game week 5. So if Brady comes back, then there's an issue for them, because they had a decent lad, I think Best, who was doing really well. But if Brady comes back, then I don't think Best will start straight away.
Yeah, good point.
So yeah, so you have to, apart from those two, I don't think any other option is decent. Kind of disagree with my man Mads, because I don't think he's he's not that of player that we are raving about to be the start of the season. He certainly is not that, because he lost his head. That's why I think he got hooked off after receiving the yellow card. So he has a bit of an issue with that. So I think if you try to get in on him, he will lose his head off. I'm not sure about that, but I think that's the only reason he got hooked off after receiving the yellow
Yeah,
card.
makes sense.
But may have to check in on that. But in terms of, he's the best player. If all the forward players, in terms of attacking talent, he is the guy, because he makes Preston attack look decent enough. From last season, whatever we have watched from of Preston, uh, whether it gets scored for goals or not, that's a different question, because they don't really have, apart from Wilkin, no other strikers, and Wilkin is not that. And Wilkin is not your 20 plus goal getter striker. He's not. So you're expecting a very heavy workload for him from him, so which is kind of which is kind of not going in favor for Mads as of now. But all these attackers that they have now signed, and the attackers that are coming back from injury, can certainly help Mads attacking output quite a bit, and Preston will score much more goals. Especially if Brady comes back, that will help as well, because Mads will get another attacking supporter in terms of Brady, because Brady is a good enough footballer, good enough guy to create those chances, whether he plays in the left midfield or left back. So uh, I don't think Preston will, in terms of attacking talent, they will digress. But I don't think Mads is at a position. It's a don't buy, don't sell. So you're not going to
Yeah.
buy, apart from
Yes,
Potts. I
agreed.
think, yeah, apart from Potts, I don't think any other Preston assets is on the purchasing list as well. So only Potts and Hughes maybe. So
Yeah.
yeah, Preston, I think these are the options. And I think in terms of Cardiff, apart from Aaron Ramsey and Ugbo, I don't think there are any other options. We'll have
Yeah.
to see how they play.
Even Ugbo was benched in the last game and he came on at half time, which maybe suggests that his place, he may well have got his place back. He came on for Tanner. Um, I do still like Ugbo as a potential option. Yeah, I mean, again, he's not one that I'd be rushing to buy, but if you do need a forward at that price point for structural reasons or whatever, then you can do a lot worse than Ugbo. And yeah, Ramsey's okay, but another one of those players that I wouldn't be rushing to buy unless you're needing to downgrade a midfielder to that sort of price. Defensively, their best option's in G, and he's 5.5, so I wouldn't be going there. Yeah, I agreed with you. And also, I do agree with you on Franco Janssen not being a sell. Don't buy, don't sell. Because yes, even though I said he's overrated, he's not a sell. He's just not a buy. Yeah.
Yeah, so Nick, I think apart from Potts
and he used to some extent. Most of the players are on the
Yeah,
watch list, because those are not at the moment viable asset.
agreed. Yeah.
So hopefully that helps. Fourth question we have from Gaffer Hoops. Which teams should be targeted for next 4 game weeks, given that many have 3 home games? And the second part of the question is who are the best targets from those teams?
Yeah, I mean it's a good observation, isn't it? That quite a lot. It's the next 4 games. Most teams either have 3 out of 4 away games or 3 out of 4 home games. Yeah. So Preston we've covered. They're one of the teams that has 2 out of 4 home games. So yeah, you could look at Preston because of that. Who else has got 3 out of 4 home games? Millwall do. Although one of them is against Leeds. Nisbet has got on the score sheet, but probably not worth it at this point. Fleming is always a player who could do well at some point, and I think we mustn't forget about him. Just at the moment, I guess if you're selling Mavididi, you could punt on Fleming, potentially, because we know how good he is for bonus. Um, so and yeah, their 3 home games are Leeds obviously, but then Rotherham and Swansea are the other two, so not too bad. Any others stand out to you? Bristol City, but I don't know who you go for there.
Mm, I think everyone has got Norwich options, so
Yeah.
uh, don't have to talk about Norwich. Yeah, they are the team that has 3 home games as well. I think we may have to look for Watford assets now. I mean, although they have Birmingham, West Brom, Leeds, Middlesbrough, and Sunderland, 5 of the best fixtures, and if they come out on top of those 5 fixtures, then that will be a massive boost for Watford. But Watford can be a sneaky team, so I mean they have some decent options, albeit 1 game, 2 games old. But apart from Lauza, I think the defensive options looks like decent ones. Their new striker is also a good one, good in the air, like a direct man that Ishmael wanted. So he can be another option, a bit pricey, but he's a forward option. He
Yeah.
can be, and I think the
Brace against
Georgian,
Coventry you got, so keep an eye on it.
yeah, and I think another one is they signed on loan from Genk. I think the Georgian one, his name starts with K. I think.
Not sure. I'm not
Hold
sure.
on, he can be another option apart from Lauza from the midfield. So yeah, these are the 3 options I think from Watford. Uh, we can't afford to look away from. I think yeah, Chuck Vidadze. Chuck Vidadze. Yeah, he can be another decent option if he starts to play the games more. I think apart from that, yeah, most of the options I think you have. One of them, at least one player from each team. I think those
Mm.
that have 3 home games in the next 4. I think Watford has, Norwich has, Millwall. Joe talked about it. I think Leeds. No, Leeds have 3 away games. Huddersfield has another team. Huddersfield has 3 home games, but
They're just rubbish.
uh, yeah, you
Yeah.
don't really want to talk about Bristol. Joe covered, and Blackburn is another one, but it's a wait and watch for from them as well because we don't know how they are gonna play. So I
Mm.
think these are a few options that you can look at if you're really looking to bring in players that are having home games.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think some people could well target the home fixtures with some success, but you got to pick out the right guys, I guess. I think there's not loads of really attractive teams who've got 3 out of 4 home games coming up now, and so therefore just playing fairly normally on a more form related basis than a fixture related basis um, is probably okay for the next 4. I just there's not many options that really stand out to me in all of these teams that have 3 home games. I think Fleming is the main one that I would take any sort of interest in, really. The rest could do all right. They really could do all right. And you know, targeting the fixtures is obviously a very good way to play fantasy football, but it's tricky. It's tricky.
Hopefully, hopes that answers your question. I think apart from the majority of the players you own who have home games, and one or two guys you can look forward to, but don't really want to dismantle the other whole squad to add him, because it will need some transfers to have him as well. So take a look. These are the certain options that we said, and if you can able to bring, then you can bring it. So that's from Hoops. To end it all, our pod member David, who has not been able to join the pod, but he has sent us a question. So thank you for that. His question is, what is your favorite movie, and what is your go-to movie snack that's not popcorn in the movies? So
I'm gonna have to
let's
think
hear it,
about
Joe.
this. Do you know yours straight away? Because I'm gonna have to think about mine.
The Transformers series were my favorite movie growing up, because I was big fan of Optimus Prime, but I haven't watched a movie in a long time. I think in 2 years I haven't watched a
Wow.
movie by going to a cinema. But I think you can say the latest one. I think, yeah, I have to stick with Transformer because I haven't watched much movies so far in the 2 years. So I can't say that these are my favorite. But Transformers series, I have watched every one of them in the movies. I've downloaded it and watched again. So that you can say is a favorite one, series you can say of movies. And my go-to snack apart from popcorn, mm, calzones. I really like to eat them, so I tend to buy calzones and
Calzones.
sandwiches.
Calzones.
I generally don't buy popcorn. But
What do
in
you mean by
our
calzones? You're making me think of calzone, like the pizza type, like pizza
um,
similar sort of thing. But I'm guessing you don't mean that.
not pizza, it's like a croissant shaped item
Yeah.
where a lot of cheese and uh, uh, certain vegetable toppings goes inside, and its shape is like no-
It does sound
and
like the
a
Italian food,
small,
actually. Yeah, sounds quite similar.
yeah, a small
Maybe it's.
croissant shape, not a full croissant, but small croissant shape, where the end it's like it's how can I say, it's like an, I'm missing the word, exact word. I can, I mean, the top one is open, the bottom one is like a cone. It's
Mhm.
you can say it's a cone, but a small cone one.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Interesting.
it's traditionally made. Not many cinema halls have them,
Mm,
but in my area they have them. So get to
interesting.
have them.
Hmm.
And sandwiches is a common thing in every cinema halls. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Sandwiches in cinemas. You wouldn't get that in this country.
yeah. Yeah, I don't order popcorn to be honest in cinemas, because I feel like it's a waste of my
Yeah.
money because I don't get what I
Cinemas
I can't.
overcharge. I don't know what it's like in India, but in this country it's ridiculously expensive. So some people will bring stuff in from the supermarket and try and like smuggle it in, but like they charge so much at cinemas for
Yeah,
snacks.
no, we can't. Even though we try to have some chocolates in our backpacks, but our backpacks have to be kept outside
Ah,
the ticket. So you
uh,
have to keep your bags outside, then you have to go. So it's
rubbish,
we can't bring anything.
rubbish.
Uh, so yeah. So what's your favorite movie then?
I wish I could give more interesting answer than this. People think it's really boring. I don't watch loads of movies because I think it's because I watch so much sport, and I'm more likely to do that than watch a film. I'm probably slightly more of a TV person. I really liked Inception. I think that would be up there as one of my favourite movies. Very mind bending sci-fi stuff. But I do quite like some sci-fi things, like The Matrix as well was really good. I'm pretty confident I have watched at least 2 or 3 other movies that are really good that I've been gripped from start to finish. I just can't recall them, and it's probably just because I'm not as much of a movie person as loads of others who would probably remember their favourite films that they've ever seen, whereas I would watch a film, I'd really, really enjoy it, and then like it wouldn't really stick in my mind that much.
Yep.
In terms of snacks, I just like sugar too much. It's bad, really. So I would go for sweets of some sort. Could be anything, to be honest. I'll eat most. Haribos, wine gums, anything. I like sugar too much. I mean, I wouldn't normally get popcorn either. I'd prefer something else like sweets or chocolate or crisps or something. But crisps are noisy in a cinema. That's more if you've got someone around and you're just doing it at your own place. But yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully, Dave, we answered our favorite ones. So that rounds up the questions for this week. Thanks to all of you guys who have sent us questions. Tried our best to answer them. Now it's up to you guys to have a formulated decision after taking our advices. So, yeah, that's the questions.
All right, let's talk about Game Week 6 then, and our initial plans, presumably based on very little thought, because it's international break and still a few days till the deadline. But yeah, your team is up. You're on mute.
You can see, I think, my captain. I have 3-4-3 formation. Hero, Ida, Broadhead are my 3 strikers. 4 midfielders are Gnoto, Rowe, Sara, Dewsbury. 3 defenders. I'm starting Manning so far, but that's my transfer move this week. Probably Manning out for someone else because I've had it with him. And Davis and Mumba are my 2 defenders. Hazard is my goalkeeper. So yeah, I'm pretty much basic. If I give Manning a chance, then I will roll this week. Roll the transfer this week. But I don't think I will give Manning any other chances. I think there are far too many defenders, a certain lesser price than Manning that are performing way much better than him. So I think his time is up, especially in my squad. So that would be my one move. In terms of captaincy, it's kept on Pero and Gnoto, my captaincy and vice captaincy, and I think it will stay like that unless I have a really odd idea and put it on Sara because they're facing Stoke at home. But Stoke this season is not an easy team. So I think Pero and Gnoto will be my 2 captain and vice captain as of now. So yeah, that's my team.
Cool. My team, so I think for the first time this season, I feel like I've not got any glaring issues with transfers and stuff, so I feel good about my team. And I mean, since the start, I've kind of looked at my defence and thought it's fine. I've got other priorities like selling Teller or Sinistera or all these players that were kind of issues in the attack. Now I'm really happy with my attack and it doesn't need changing. So my attention sort of turns to the defence now, and to obviously my defence has been fine, but not sort of optimal, I guess. But so I guess the question I have in my mind is it worth selling Manning now? I think he's on the chopping block, or is rolling a better idea? Just for more information, flexibility, etc. I think I'm currently leaning towards roll, which means Manning gets 1 more game. There's a chance. Yeah, I mean, I don't love starting him against Leicester, but we know Leicester have not been amazing so far. So yeah, that's where I'm leaning at the moment, but I could certainly sell Manning if there's a transfer that I think has enough upside. I just don't think there really is one at the moment. So yeah, that's my current thinking. I suppose I could go to Potts, to be fair. ranking Costello is also obviously an issue. So I think him and Manning are the two that are mostly on the chopping block at the moment, and this attack can stick for a while. To be honest, it's great. I love my attack now. Nonto, Somerville, Sarah, Dewsbury Hall, Rowe currently on the bench, Pirro, Armstrong, Broadhead is just lovely. So yeah, I'm hoping this triple Leeds attack will do well, even though they've got 3 away games in 4, and the fixtures aren't easy. I'm really hoping they're gonna click and do well. We'll see. Captaincy torn, to be honest. Really not sure. Could be Broadhead, could be Pirro, could be Somerville, could be Armstrong, could be Davis. I need to think about it. Could be Sarah. It's literally 5 or 6 players who I could captain this week. It's going to be tricky, and it could be very swingy. It could be a very swingy captaincy week. We'll see. Yeah, that's me. As for David, he said he was thinking of doing, I think, Manning to Spence, wasn't he? Which is interesting. So that was the movie he was thinking of doing, but he wasn't sure. I think that was just a very brief thought. But that's how his team looks. I think he's only got 1 free transfer. Might be wrong. But...
Yeah. I think in terms of his team, it looks better.
It's good, isn't it?
So I think Manning is the only issue he has. I mean, he has Whittaker as well, so that's a nice Manning. He currently has Manning on the bench, but with the Ashby, with the Swansea trio of wing backs, he may have to play Manning by default.
Yeah, and also my mistake. Sorry, he did say Castagna. I've missed that he still had Castagna there in his team. I think he said Castagna to Spence. Obviously, that would be a better transfer than Manning to Spence because Castagna can't score a single point for his team.
So he is. I think he will do Castagna to Spence and just ride it out and give Manning another week possibly. But who knows? He's a risk taker, so he might take another -4 and bring Manning out altogether come deadline day. So
yeah, we'll see. Interesting. Cool. All right, that is everything. Is there anything you would like to say before we finish off, Abhishek?
Nothing much. I think just give us the like, subscribe to our YouTube and to the Spotify channel and all those jazz. It really helps. It really helps to bring the count together in terms of the analytics part. When I think Dave was checking, I think yesterday, and he was very impressed with what we are doing in terms of the analytical part. So hopefully you guys, those who listen, hit the subscribe button on the YouTube. If you're watching in YouTube and if you're listening in Spotify, then give us a rating there as well and follow us so that you don't miss any of our new latest videos whenever they are live. I think that's it.
Brilliant.
That's all there is to be said.
Fantastic. Yeah, always good to get that plug in at the end. It's something that I always forget. So yeah, it's good. Right, thank you all for watching. I'm not entirely sure what our content plan is now for the next few weeks. I would imagine this weekend is probably most likely to be a Game Week 6 reactions video, so a short form video.
Yeah.
But we will see when we're next available for a long episode, and when we'll next do a Super League episode. It could be a few weeks. We'll see, but I'm sure we'll be getting something out in the next week or so after Game Week 6. Just what it'll be, we'll confirm later.
Yep.
So in that case, all that needs to be said is goodbye, and see you next time. So it's goodbye from me.
And namaste from me.